welcome to today's show, everyone. We are very excited about today's talk because I've got a really good friend of mine joining us today. We've been in touch for quite a few years now, and hopefully we can get him a tennis recruit in the nearby future. Coach Trey Morris, how are you?
I'm doing great, Amrit, and appreciate you having me on, and excited to talk a little bit about my coaching journey and UAB and college tennis.
Absolutely. This is one of the talks that I hoped we did like a while back, but I'm so glad we've got you here now. And the reason why I hoped we had you a while back is because the knowledge that you have about the college system is just crazy. I mean, I read, obviously about your bio, and not only did you coach at the top end, but you also were a great player as well. And you started at junior college and then transitioned into Division I college system. Tell us about your tennis experience going through the college system.
You're referring as a player, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So for me, obviously a little different than a lot of your clients. Obviously, American and grew up here in the States. I grew up in a town called Athens, Georgia, which, if anyone's familiar with that, it's kind of tennis mecca, and so it's it's a big deal there. They've hosted quite a few NCAA championships at the University of Georgia, and it's where the Tennis Hall of Fame is for the ITA as well. So from an early age, I knew I wanted to play college tennis. I knew I wanted to coach college tennis from 9-10 years old, and so for me it was always about, okay, how can I go about maximizing my playing career, but also setting myself up for the next step after my playing career is over, for the coaching ranks. And so you mentioned I had maybe a little bit of an interesting path during my playing career. For me, growing up, we didn't have a lot of resources in my family, and things budget was tight, money was tight at times, but that wasn't really a negative thing. I think it kind of molded me into being a tough player and a guy that really took advantage of his opportunities. But because of that, I didn't have a lot of exposure in juniors and was very limited as to where I could go play. So when it came the time to try to find a school to take that next step and play college tennis, I knew I wanted to play Division I. That was always the goal for me, and I knew that I was at a level that I was very capable of doing that and having a lot of success at the Division I level. But truthfully, my rankings that I had, due to kind of not really being able to leave Georgia and really the nearby states, they weren't great. I had some Division I offers in the South, but they weren't at schools that I really desired to go to. So for me, it kind of worked out to go the junior college route, which, for those who might not be familiar with what that is, it's a 2-year school where essentially you have a chance maybe to get the results you want on the court, or to maybe get the grades up if those were lacking a little bit, or whatever it might be. It's sort of an opportunity for guys to go in and ultimately prove themselves in whatever it might be, to then hopefully transfer to Division I, to whatever it might be after the junior college time is done. So for me, I was fortunate enough to have an opportunity to play at the time for the number one school in the country in JUCO at ASA College up in Brooklyn, New York. So I went up there and played for a semester actually only there, which is interesting. It just wasn't a great fit for me, being from a small town in Georgia, to be then living in Brooklyn, New York. And it was tough on my personal life. So then I transferred down to Abraham Baldwin Agricultural College in South Georgia, which was number 3 in the country at the time. Stayed there for 2 semesters. So spent a year and a half in JUCO, and then was able to then go on and transfer to Appalachian State University and have a great playing career there, and really thrived and really loved my time there, playing for Coach Bob Lake, who was great, and a lot of great teammates as well. And so was able to go in and get some all conference honors and lead the program to some of the first winning seasons in a very long time in that program, and really boost things forward. And I feel finished at a very good standard for myself. After college, and really during college, I was kind of always coaching at the same time, because I knew that's what I wanted to do. But I still wanted to play a little bit of professional tennis. So then I went on and moved to Europe and spent some time based out of Germany playing some futures and playing club and then came back over here to the States and kind of jumped back into coaching full time at the academy level and then obviously at college.
That's amazing. I mean, what that just shows is that everyone's got a different pathway. You know, you've got some athletes that go to a 4-year school right away, some that don't. And in the last 7 years of us working with student athletes, the junior college system actually is one system that a lot of athletes are actually favoring because they're saying, I can go to a junior college, play there for 2 years, get my associate's degree at a cost-effective strategy as well, and then transfer on to a 4-year program, cross-crediting everything over, and graduating from a great school. I mean, a good example is Rio Minikata, one of our boys from Japan. Went to Tyler Junior College with Dash Connell. Got to give him a shout out. He's an absolute legend. And after 2 years at junior college, he's now at Boise State, and he's in his senior year, and he's going to graduate with a degree. And it's not about where you start; it's about where you finish. And everyone's got different circumstances. So I appreciate you sharing that story. Fast forwarding after your playing career, you then started coaching, and you were the Big Sky Coach of the Year, which is crazy. That's just such an amazing school with so many great coaches in there. So to get that award is super, super incredible. How was your experience in the Big Sky Conference, and why did you decide to leave the Big Sky Conference to come to UAB?
Yeah, so I'll start with the first part. My experience in the Big Sky was great. I spent a little bit of time coaching at the collegiate level at my alma mater at Appalachian State. I was an assistant for the men's and women's programs there, and then jumped out and went to the junior level and was co-owning a tennis academy in Atlanta, Georgia, working with the top U.S. national juniors and with a few guys and girls, kind of making the transition, from the kind of top 600-700 in the world range and trying to make that push to top 250 in the world on the WTA and ATP tours but there was always kind of something missing there. So I wanted to get back into college coaching. And so it kind of lucked out for my wife and I that we were able to make the jump to Montana and get back in. That's also kind of an interesting story. I actually took the job as an assistant coach at Montana State. And then 3 days after accepting that role, found out the head coach was leaving and that I was the interim head coach. And was able to stay there for 3 years, built a great program. I felt I say we, my entire staff at Montana State, we worked tirelessly. We worked our tails off to get that program to where it was last year. When I took that program on, they hadn't won a conference championship since I believe it was 2005, and we were able to do that last year, which was great, winning the regular season conference championship. And we were able to make a lot of history there and do a lot of firsts. And for me, that experience was great, being able to lead the program and be a head coach and do things the way that I had kind of always seen and planned on doing them from an early age when I knew I wanted to be a college coach at age 9, 10. So it was great experience. I was, to kind of fast forward back to the other part, I was, honored to receive the Coach of the Year award last year for the Big Sky Conference. And that was sort of, I guess, in a way, Emirates, maybe a popularity contest. I don't know. I think, I don't know. I'm not saying that, of course, we did a great job and we were able to make a lot of history last year. And like I said, won the conference in the regular season and had a doubles team that went on and made it to the Sweet 16 of the NCAA tournament at Division I level, beating Virginia's #1 doubles team first round of that tournament, which was great for us. But truthfully, you're voted in by your peers, so I guess maybe I made a good impression on the other coaches around the league. I don't know, but no, I appreciate all of them for the honor, and it was great. And then, I think I had a little bit of an interesting story as well as to why I left Montana State. Not a lot of people know this, actually. I really loved my time there. I really enjoyed it. I thought we built a great program, and truthfully, I felt like this year was actually going to be our great year, honestly. I kind of felt like this was the one, not last year, actually, when we made a lot of history. I thought it was actually going to be this one. But my son actually got sick and was dealing with some lung issues. And so my wife and I kind of came to the realization that we needed to be closer to family, have a little bit more family support, and we needed to be in a city where there's a children's hospital. So we were able to make the jump here to Birmingham, and there's a top 5 nationally ranked children's hospital in the country. And then it just so worked out that I was able to kind of land on my feet, and be able to be a part of this phenomenal institution at UAB, and be a part of a program, honestly, that is growing like crazy. It's building. We've obviously been at a high standard here at UAB for our athletics programs, and I won't bore you with all the history and the details as to what the tennis programs here have accomplished. But we're taking the step up to the American Conference next year here at UAB, and so yeah, I'm beyond excited to be a part of it. And so, yeah, interesting story as to kind of what led me to leave Montana State. But ultimately what kind of landed me here at UAB was kind of the combination between everything working out in the personal life and then also professionally being able to work alongside Justin DeSanto, who's our head coach here, who's done a lot of great things, and who I knew of. And he's won quite a few awards as well in the ITA for being coach of the year in several different divisions, actually, which is pretty impressive. And be a part of the growth of this institution and the athletic department in general.
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm sorry to hear about your son, and we're thinking of him and hope he gets better fast. And it's great that you've landed on your feet, mate. I'm a big believer that good things happen to good people, and not surprised that you got this job, to be honest. And also, you mentioned it could have been luck about your title that you got last year. I don't agree with that. I think you are a product of your environment, and you built a really good environment for the Montana State community, and the success speaks for itself. And I'm excited to see what's going to happen at UAB, because you got 2 amazing coaches now running their program with a lot of experience coming in. And that's the thing, right? There's people that are coach and they've gone and done a qualification and become a coach, but there's also people that have played, and there's things that some athletes can't learn from a coach who hasn't been through those experiences. And that's what I really like about UAB, is that you've grinded it out. You've been on the tour. You played overseas. You know the different playing styles and what makes people tick. And that's why we're going to keep pestering you about signing our athletes going forward. That's going to happen. You'll be getting phone calls from me and my boy Ali. So that'll be good. But what's it like at UAB? I mean, there's a lot of people here that are listening from different sports as well, and they'll be curious to know, what is the facilities like at UAB?
Well, truthfully, it's top notch. I mean, a lot of people don't know this, but we're actually one of the largest schools, or actually the largest school in the state of Alabama. And what I mean by that is, of course, you've got Alabama and you've got Auburn, but we actually bring in the most revenue to the state of any institution or any organization in the entire state. So we actually bring in $7.2 billion in economic impact to the state of Alabama. UAB, our institution, does.
Oh, wow.
So with that comes a lot of resources and a lot of opportunities for our athletes, right, and for our university in general. And so, whether it's on the academic side, kind of being ranked as one of the top universities in the country from an academic standpoint, or athletically, we've got a brand new football stadium that's 2 years old. And it's got about, I think, 47,000 seats. It's a beautiful, beautiful stadium. We've got a basketball stadium that's just through a few doors here outside of my office that's got about 8,000 seats in our basketball stadium. And we've got one of the greatest top-notch weight rooms I've ever been been able to see. I've been at a lot of different places and in my playing career, and I've been around the country, and as a coach, obviously being able to travel and see different institutions, and same thing as a player. And for example, our weight room that our athletes get to use every day is second to none. And we're very lucky here as well that, we've got a beautiful tennis facility on campus. That's one thing that I really encourage, a lot of athletes to really think about, especially international guys as they come over, is not every school you go to has that on-campus facility that you're able to just walk out of your dorm, you're able to walk out of your apartment or stumble out of class after a tough test and make it over to the courts and get after it. So, yeah, we're very fortunate we have that right in the middle of campus. And And yeah, so from that perspective, I think it doesn't get much better. And we're also located. UAB is located in the middle of a metro city. So Birmingham's got 1.2 million people, and we're sort of integrated with the city, if you will. Our campus is right in the middle of downtown, but it's kind of a traditional college campus. So, some schools that are located in the cities, they're just kind of in some skyscrapers. They're in these large buildings, but there's not really a true campus feeling. That's not the case with us. We've got a lot of green space. We've got a well-defined campus. And you take 5-minute walk right off and you're at the best shopping, best restaurants in town. So, we're very fortunate that we've kind of got all this at our fingertips, like facilities, resources, financial backing to be able to give our athletes the best travel and be able to compete at the highest level, no matter where that might take us in the country. We're able to travel however we need to go to do what we need to do. And it's afforded us the opportunity to really get things going in the right direction for our tennis program.
That's amazing. And for our audience in New Zealand and in Australia, the city that UAB is located in is very similar size to Auckland in New Zealand, which is our largest city in the country. So that's pretty nice. It's got a good feel here. It feels busy, so I could just imagine what it's like having a big campus slapped in the middle of that city. So that's awesome, man. And let's talk about when you're recruiting athletes. Now, UAB has got amazing facilities, as you've just shared. Your inbox must be flooded with emails from students wanting to be part of your program. What do you look for in recruits? What's really important to you guys?
Well, I think for us, it's making sure that we find guys that fit our philosophies and fit our program here to a T. I think, a lot of players think that, okay, all we're worried about is guys that can hit forehands and backhands. Of course, that is true. Of course, we want you to be at a certain standard and you've got to have some ability. But to be honest, the separating factor is what you're looking for in your experience. Because truthfully, I tell student athletes this all the time. What's important is that you find the best fit for you, no matter what that is. Okay, so in our case here, truthfully, we want student athletes that want to come in and maximize their potential on the court. Okay, we want guys who want to see how good they can be. Our program is based around individual player development, and we put a lot of work in with every single athlete, whether it's on the court, in the weight room, with our nutritionist, with our sports psychologist, whatever aspect it is. I mean, these guys are doing this stuff all the time, and we have very high standards here. But the truth is that's not for everybody. Not everybody wants that. Not everyone wants to go on and try to play pro tennis after their college career is over, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. You can have aspirations to come to college and get a great degree and build lifelong relationships and compete for a conference championship and do those things, and that's great. But you're not going to enjoy your time here, okay? And I think that's what I tell all these guys, that we're talking to is I'm pretty straightforward. I'm pretty honest with them about what we're looking for and what we want. And I want them to be honest with themselves as well, because like you said, Amit, we do have a lot of resources. We do have great facilities. And so I think, sometimes you can see that shiny object that you're like, man, that just sounds so great. I really want to be a part of that. Well, that's awesome, but be realistic with yourself as well. Are you really going to enjoy, being pushed every day? Are you really going to enjoy someone who expects you to bring it, every time you're in the weight room or, every tennis ball you hit in training or whatever it might be? So I think that's important. And then, truthfully for me, as you guys all our listeners can probably tell, I'm a really high energy guy. Okay. I love what I do. I'm passionate about what I do. I think there's no better place in the country than UAB. But at the same time, like I said before, I do have expectations, but at the same time, I think it's important that guys know that I also expect that from my athletes. Okay, so when we're looking for guys, if someone comes in and the best way I can explain this is if Roger Federer were to walk into my program. Okay, Roger, as we all know, is one of the greatest tennis players of all time. But his personality type, right? He's very relaxed. He's very calm. He's very chill. He might not mesh well with me, truthfully. There might be something left to be desired if I were working with Roger Federer. However, Rafa Nadal, he and I are probably going to see eye to eye. We're going to be, but we're going to work great together, and we're going to be able to take those next steps forward. And so I think that's important as well, and that players understand that whether it's looking at our program here or whether it's looking at other programs, what does that coach expect? What is he looking for? What's his personality type? Am I going to mesh well with that coach? Am I going to mesh well with that program, with the other players on the team, with the core values? What are those? And yeah.
UAB is such an attractive program, as everyone can already tell. Do you ever worry that when you jump on a recruiting call with an athlete and you tell them that this is what we're looking for in a recruit, and the athlete is thinking, well, I want to be part of this program, I'm going to say anything to please the coach, and then they go and say, I'm a hard worker, I'm driven, I'm willing to work. Do you ever worry about the athlete coming in there and not being who they are, or have you got other processes put in place to ensure that athlete is what they say they are before they come to your program? Does that make sense?
No, it does. Listen, I think it's completely normal that these athletes will get on the call and they're going to want to sell themselves, right? Because they're going to want to have as many options as they could possibly have so that they can pick what feels best for them. Okay. I think that's completely normal. I think that's expected. Once again, I just encourage athletes, number one, to be honest with themselves. But number two, the second part of your question is, do we have things in place to be able to kind of weed that out? We do. I can't say that every program does this. I think we ask really specific questions that an athlete might feel like they're answering it correctly, but actually it's the wrong answer. And we're actually looking for something else. So, and the reason I say that is truthfully, you need to answer the questions honestly, because what you think the coach, in my case, I ask questions of what I think they want to tell me, and then what I actually want to hear, right? And what I actually want to hear is different than what they think I want to hear, okay? And so I can normally weed out some players that way, and I'll tell guys, hey, to be honest, that was a right or wrong question, and you answered it right, or you answered it wrong. I'm sorry, I don't know if this is going to work, and I do think we do that. I think the other thing I would encourage athletes to be aware of is we do our due diligence. Not every coach does, truthfully, but I think the best coaches and the best recruiters, they do their due diligence. They're going to call people that they know. Amrit, we got off the phone yesterday. I was calling you. I won't name names, but there are some players that I called Amrit about that he, for example, isn't necessarily working with. And I just say, hey, I know you might be aware, you might not be aware of this guy or girl, and how's his personality? Who is he as a person? What are your thoughts? And so we do our due diligence. We ask around. I check social media always. I'll go look at players' Instagrams and Facebooks and Twitters and all these types of things to get a feel of who they are. I think the last piece for us is, we also, truthfully, it's something I do. I look at, in our sport of tennis, I look at results. And one thing that's normally telltale for me as to how hard a player works is, and it's not always 100%, but if a player loses a third set 6-0, in my eyes, that's like, okay, that's a little weird. What's going on here? How could you have battled, for that long and then go down really, in my opinion, without much of a fight, right, at the end. So I think that's kind of a character, not a end all be all, we don't want you, but that's kind of are there any other red flags that I see when I talk to the kid at all? Because that's a little concerning that they could battle for 2 hard sets and then kind of go away. What happened there? Does that kind of answer your question, Aaron?
100%, and that's absolutely brilliant. That's why I said I've been looking forward to this podcast, and I wanted to get on this call ages ago, because this is absolute magic. I'm really glad that you mentioned all those great things. That's why when we send you CVs, we put in losses. Like if an athlete's lost 6-4 in the third, but they've grinded out a whole match, it shows their character, right? It shows that they're willing to dig deep. And look, tennis is brutal. You could play for 2.5 hours and still lose, and that's a loss. But that's okay as long as you showed effort. But that's cool what you said, that the way that they play that third set, or if it's 6-love, you might start asking a few more questions. It might be a little bit concerning. So athletes, do keep that in mind. Don't tank, especially as tennis players. Don't tank. we always talk about social media with coaches, and I always ask coaches, what are the things that you don't want to see on social media? And I think people have heard enough about that. What are the good things on social media that you like seeing?
Well, I mean, I like seeing, truthfully, I like seeing when players post about their tennis. I like seeing that they're excited about what they're doing, whether it be their videos of them training, videos of pictures of matches, whatever it might be. I think that tells me a lot about their level of passion or care for the sport. But like I told you earlier, I'm a pretty high energy guy, and I want that from my players as well. I expect our guys to be passionate and compete with a lot of energy and a lot of positive energy. So honestly, I think that takes a little bit of a special type of personality as well. I think you want someone that's very outgoing, someone who's social, who can get along with others, because especially at the collegiate level in our sport of tennis. It is a team sport. We go from being individuals our entire careers to now we have to mesh together and be a part of a cohesive unit on a day-to-day basis in training. But then also when it comes down to match day, you're playing another guy one-on-one, but you're playing beside your brothers, and you've got a coach on the court as well. So you have to be able to communicate, and you have to be able to encourage one another, and that can go a long way in a dual match when it's a 50-50. And so the reason I kind of said all that is because one thing we actually look for, and I think it's rather unique to maybe us, is I actually want to see posts that a player is spending time with their friends. I actually want to see that they've got the pictures of them and all their buddies and enjoying themselves. We don't want it to go over the top and have anything too rambunctious or too crazy, but at the same time, I think that's healthy. I think that's normal. I think that tells me that they're a well-liked person, and they enjoy the social side of life as well, and that's also really important for us. But yeah, I think multiple things. Nothing's really bad to see. I can't say there's not really anything I've come across where I'm like, man, I don't know. That's a little strange. I think everyone's unique. Everyone's different in their personality types. And I think, not everyone would thrive in our program. And so, just because you post one way that we might not necessarily think is the perfect fit for us doesn't mean it's wrong. It just means it might not be the perfect fit for us.
Instagram is a great promotional tool. Social media is a great promotional tool, and you can use it to your advantage. And as Coach Trey Morris just mentioned, keep posting videos of yourself competing. And this isn't just for tennis players, for all athletes. Post videos of yourself training with your family, your friends, having a good time on holiday. And make sure it comes across in a cool and professional way. Just make sure it's a professional way. I think athletes need to understand the digital footprint is an important thing to recognize and to appreciate. And you don't want to post anything bad. So don't post photos of alcohol in it and smoking and vaping. I know vaping's a thing now, 2022. Don't post that stuff. If you want to be an athlete, post the right things, and you are a walking billboard. I think Ed Sheeran was the one that came out and said Instagram is one of the best promotional tools out there for free, because you can literally just post things and so many people can share it. I've mentioned this so many times, but I'm going to talk about it again. Lizzie Neal, a golfer at Northern Arizona, had a personal Instagram account with her friends and her family, and then another Instagram account just for her golf. And coaches were loving it. She was posting all of these cool golf courses around New Zealand that she was playing in. Even if she didn't play well in that tournament, she'll write about it. Didn't play well, putted really bad, but looking to bounce back and looking to work. During lockdown, she posted videos of her putting up a net in the backyard and hitting golf balls against it. Just things like that. And coaches are like, I want to invest in that. That's something cool. She's taken initiative there. And I reckon you should guys definitely use social media to your advantage. In terms of academics at UAB, what are you guys looking at GPA, SAT wise?
I think for us, truthfully, I mentioned earlier we are one of the a really, really high standard for us academically in the U.S. For those who might not know, I mean we're like 130 in the country for academics and overall universities, and I think that's at a very high level. Amrit knows that. That's at a good standard. But with that being said, and you guys may be familiar with this. But we are able to get some student athletes in with kind of all across the board GPAs. We can kind of help guys out a little bit, and same thing with the SAT. However, between being able to help out and actually what we really want and what we look for, I think are two different things. I think for us, I think it's really important that that student athletes are getting over 3.3 to 4.0. I think is always a good range for us. I think we always feel good about that as coaches. We're like, okay, that's a bonus, that's a positive. We know that you're gonna open up yourself to having some academic scholarship. Okay, that's big time. That's one thing I think a lot of prospective student athletes need to know is that that is a thing. We can put athletic and academic together to form sort of a bundle for them to make things easier financially. But B, we don't have to worry about you coming in and having issues with your eligibility, and struggling in the classroom. And that might ease a coach's mind, when they're recruiting you a little bit of okay, I've got player A, who has blank ranking with a 3.5, and then I've got player B who has almost the same ranking with a 2.7. Okay, who am I going to go for? I think
exactly. Yeah.
I think we got to remember that every grade, every mark you get in school, it is relevant. It's not the end all be all. We are, if it is the perfect fit from a tennis standpoint and a mentality standpoint, but maybe the grades weren't quite there. That's fine. We can most of the time we can help student athletes out. I think about the lowest we can help though is probably a 2.4, 2.5. Any lower than that, it becomes really tough, or if almost impossible. And so that's something to keep in mind as well. And then, in terms of SAT, I think over 1,000. I think over 1,000 for sure.
Awesome. No, I really appreciate you telling us that, because we really try to nail that on the head on our social media channels when we educate athletes about the GPA, making sure that they get in the highest possible grade, because sometimes students, they think they just scrape through. They think that if they get C's in school or just pass that 50% rate and just play a lot of tennis, they're going to get deals in the States. Well, first of all, you need a 2.3 out of 4 GPA throughout your entire college career to be Division I eligible. And secondly, as Coach Morris just said, if there are two athletes on with higher grades, which one are they going to go for? Which one is going to cause them the least amount of headaches academically at university? They don't want to be chasing you because you're not doing well at university. They want you to be driven, and it shows a lot about your character as well, I guess, right? Competing at a high level and doing well academically shows that you actually really care. Wouldn't you agree?
No, absolutely. And listen, I said it earlier, we want student athletes who want to maximize their potential. Well, obviously I'm a tennis coach, so of course that for me looks like it's on the court a lot of the time. We want guys to see how good they can be, in their results, and hopefully go on and have a successful pro career and reach the top 500 in the world, top 300, make a little money, do that whole thing. But it also goes for every aspect in life. We want these guys to maximize their potential in the classroom. We want them to maximize their potential in the community, in the relationships they're building with their family, with their teammates, and so that's just part of it. That's part of the standard that we set here in our program, is that we do have a standard of excellence, that we are great in everything that we touch, in every aspect of life, and that's something that's important to us as a staff. So Amrit hit the nail on the head there for sure.
Honestly, Coach Morris, I'm really appreciative of you and your time today. Thank you so much for being here. And for those that are listening to this that want to learn more about the UAB men's tennis program, go check out their website. Go online, go on Google. You can see their roster, you can see their schedule, you can read up about the coaches. Follow them on Instagram, follow them on Facebook. Go on YouTube, look at UAB Campus Tour. There's literally drone footage over the whole campus. It's absolutely brilliant. The last question I have, Coach Morris, when are you coming to New Zealand?
Hopefully sooner rather than later. Listen, it's we've gotten to know each other really well, Amrit, over the years, and from my first year at Montana State, I think all the way till now, we've stayed in great touch, and just like you opened it up with, I consider you one of my great friends in this industry. And so, listen, I've got to get over there sooner rather than later. You just got to tell me when I need to be there, when the best players are competing, and we'll try to make it happen for sure.
Absolutely. I've been talking with Ali. We're trying to get a showcase going. So we're going to get you over here, but we need to get you here when a rugby match is on, so we can take you to that as well.
Right, that's right. No, I would absolutely love to see that, and I've got a lot of great friends from my own playing career in Australia as well. So I just need to go get over to that part of the world in general. I need to come see you guys, spend a week or two in New Zealand, and then I need to go around Australia for a little bit as well.
Absolutely. I can't wait to that day. But thank you so much for your time, Coach Morris. Really appreciate it. And yeah, we'll be in touch. I'll be knocking on your door, pestering about more players. So thank you so much.
Yeah, we're excited to have those phone calls and those texts from you, and it's always a pleasure.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you so much. And if you're listening to this, make sure you check out our YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. There's a lot of content for you. Until next time, this is the Platform Podcast. Thanks for joining.